What's going on, knuckleheads? Welcome back to the Keep It Clean podcast. Doing a little bit different today. We're outside. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties a couple minutes ago. For whatever reason, Facebook Live cut out on me. Also got a young homie, man, on Facebook. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's talking crazy. So I might have to hit him up and see if he's okay. And by crazy, I don't mean disrespectful. I mean just seems to be in a dark place. I might have to check him out. But why do boxing and MMA judges keep getting it wrong? And this applies to everybody. This applies to kickboxing as well. That's why I'm discussing this. This applies to fighters, rep promotions. This applies to the UFC. This applies to everywhere. And yesterday, we had a lot of fights where the judges seemingly got it wrong, right? I felt like the Angela Hill fight was a little off, the result there. I felt like Barbosa should have probably got the win against Ige. I felt like, I felt like Marlon Vera should have won. Excuse me. He kind of, got the short end of the stick there as well. But anyway, and, apologies again for this thing hanging up on you guys a couple of minutes ago. I was halfway through saying what I wanted to say. But so most of the athletic commissions subscribe to the Unified Rules of MMA. And I believe it's the ABC Unified Rules of MMA. It's the ABC that came up with these rules. And the reason these judges are getting things wrong is because, man, it's so subjective. It's so subjective. And, they're trying to make it uniform by having everyone subscribe to the ABC rules of MMA. They're trying to make it uniform that way, That's the reason they came up with these unified rules, right? And it's like for us, we use the unified rules of kickboxing, and we'd love to get everybody on board with those rules. That way there's familiarity. Wherever the fighters go, they'll be familiar with the rule set. But, so the unified rules of MMA, the ABC ones, that's the one most of the states are subscribing to throughout the country. And the reason the judges get it wrong is, and I'm going to explain it to you the way I see it, the way I interpret it. And we'll go more in depth on this at some point, where I'll read you the exact language of the ABC rules, but I'm going to give you a more simplistic interpretation of what the language says. So there's basically three levels that I want you guys to think about. And this is the reason why MMA judges and boxing judges and all the judges are kind of getting it wrong. So there's three levels. Three tiers, and the first tier obviously is the one you look at first, okay? And the first tier these judges are looking at is effective striking and effective grappling. Now, what does that mean? What does effective striking and effective grappling mean? Effective striking and effective grappling is basically whatever these guys are doing, whether it's striking or grappling, that could potentially lead to the end of the fight. And they count the same. The striking and the grappling counts the same. The only thing is that when you look at striking and when you look at grappling, there's basically immediate and cumulative effect to the end of the fight. So for instance, immediate would be a big shot landed that drops a guy, okay? That the ref's going to look at, and that's going to have more of an impact than an accumulation of shots landed during the round in assessing the round. So if the judge is assessing the round, for instance, we look at that Overeem fight where Walt Harris landed that one big shot. When Walt Harris landed that one big shot on Overeem the other night, they're going to look at that and they're going to say that was an immediate strike that had immediate potential to end the fight. So they're going to give that more credit than an accumulation of small shots like jabs. And I appreciate you being here in here. Think Cap. Hit that subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Thank you for joining me. I'm doing a little walk around the neighborhood. Doing this a little bit less formal than usual, but whatever. It's YouTube. You can do that. So yeah, you know, the jab, unless it has, now here's where it gets really sticky. Here's a real gray area. You would think the jab would be less considered lighter or lesser than a power punch. But again, listen to the criteria and the ABC rules. And we'll go through this, and I'll go through the text with you guys so you guys can understand what I'm saying. And I'm telling you guys this from a place of experience. I'm a promoter. I'm an attorney. I think I'm pretty good at interpreting the English language, especially because I love the fight game and I'm a promoter. I feel like I do a good job interpreting this stuff. So you would think the jab would be less of a consideration, would score less points than a power punch. But here's the thing. If Triple G lands a jab, right? Or if somebody lands a big jab and it has the potential of ending the fight, then it's going to be as effective and score the same amount of points, or at least it should in the mind of the judge, that a power punch that does the same thing does, right? It's going to be the same, right? Because they're looking at, again, if you're ranking them by importance, the effective strike with the immediate potential to end the fight is going to be the thing that's ranked the highest, as is the effective grappling sequence, as long as there's damage being caused that can immediately potentially affect the end of the fight. So anything that could, you know, affect the ending of the fight or potentially end the fight immediately, that's going to be ranked the highest, followed by the guy who does the cumulative damage, whether it's striking or grappling. And it's very important to understand that, right? And it makes sense, you know, the big shot that almost ended the fight is going to be worth more than a bunch of pity-pat shots, I guess you can say, that are accumulating over the course of the round, right? But you know, let's take a look at that Walt Harris Alistair Overeem fight last night or whenever it was. Walt Harris landed that big shot, almost stopped Overeem. At the end of the round, Overeem recovers, puts Walt Harris in a compromising position, and lands a ton of unanswered cumulative shots, right? And Cheddar, I appreciate you being in here, brother. Cheddar323 and Think Cap, much love to you guys, much appreciated. So, I mean, even though they both came close to ending the fight in that first round, it would seem that because, or you would think that because Walt landed that big shot, maybe he was closer to ending the fight, so that would score more points. But, you know, the cumulative impact that Alistair Overeem was landing in that first round also had the potential of immediately ending the fight. See, that's where it's confusing for these judges. I mean, the wording of this thing and the subjectivity is so much. It's so subjective, and it's very hard. It's very hard, I think, to score a fight like that, and especially a round like that, where one guy lands a big shot that almost ends the fight, and then one guy ends up in a position landing small shots that could end the fight, right? So I'm looking at the rules, right? Looking at the rules, I would say that Walt Harris's shot was a single immediate shot and overeems were cumulative, but I felt like there were so many cumulative shots landed, so many small shots, such an accumulation of shots that you'd have to score that round even. If anything, you'd probably have to give Harris the first round just based on the ABC rules, right? Cheddar, let me see what you guys are saying real quick before I go on to the next part of this analysis, because it's very important for you guys to understand. It's very tricky. It's very tricky. So for boxing, how does the point system work? It's the same system. It's the 10-point must system. It's the same system. Those big shots are typically going to be worth more than the cumulative shots. The ones that have the immediate potential to end the fight are going to score more than the ones that have the cumulative potential to end the fight. Let's see, jab one, PowerPoint. Yeah, we already discussed that. We in here, Yo, says Cheddar. Okay. It is very subjective. You're saying, I know, it's confusing. Listen, I'm going to try to say it again. A shot that could immediately affect the end of the fight is going to be given more consideration than the shots that will cumulatively end the fight. So obviously a big shot that has a big effect on the opponent is going to be more, score you more points than a small shot does, right? That may not end the fight. So the big shot's gonna score you more. Here's what I really wanted to discuss with you guys. A lot of people talk about effective aggression and then ring or cage control. A lot of people are concerned with that. So with regards to effective aggression, that is the second tier. I told you guys at the beginning of the video there are 3 tiers. The first tier is effective striking and effective grappling. That's what the judges are looking at. That's what they're looking at. And the big shot, again, that can immediately end the fight is scored more than the shots that can cumulatively end the fight. All right, I'm trying to make this as clear as day for you guys, even though it's very subjective. The second tier is effective aggression. Okay, so again, the first tier, effective grappling and striking, where you're actually doing damage. Okay, in grappling, if you're in top position, that doesn't mean you've done damage. You're just in top position. They should not be giving you more points just for being on top. If you're on the bottom and you're doing more damage from the bottom than the guy on top is, then you're landing the effective strikes. You should win that round, even if you're on the bottom. Okay. So then the second tier is what we go to if everything else is even. So if the judges determine that the effective striking and the effective grappling was even, that's when they go to the second tier. That's when they go to the second tier, and that's the only time they're allowed to go to the second tier if they felt like the grappling and the striking was even. This is what the unified rules say. So if they determined, and it's 3 judges doing this, right? As you pointed out, Think Cap, it's 3 judges doing this. If you know, maybe one of them determines one guy was more effective in striking. Maybe another guy determines the other guy was more effective. And maybe the other guy determines they were evenly effective. So if they were evenly effective in striking and grappling, if they were evenly effective in striking and grappling, only then can the judges go to the second tier. Only then can the judges go to the second tier. And I'm going to explain that to you right now. But first, I'm going to ask you guys, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Join Knucklehead Nation. Get your shirt in the link below. And anything you donate to the channel or purchase from the channel gets reinvested right back into the promotion. So anyway, so once the judge determines that the effective striking and the effective grappling is even, only then do they look at the second tier, which is effective aggression. Okay? And effective aggression is if both guys are landing, whatever, they're both landing at an even rate, but one guy is more aggressive. One guy is bringing the fight more than the other guy. That will be taken into consideration at that point, and the one that's more effectively aggressive will be given the round, will be awarded the round over the guy that's less effectively aggressive. Now you got to ask yourself, what does effective aggression even mean? I mean, if they're landing, if the striking and the grappling, the effective striking and the grappling is the same, then they're basically doing, in your opinion as the judge, the same amount of damage. So now you've got to go to tier 2 and you've got to determine, okay, who is the effective aggressor? Who's being more aggressive? Okay? And then only in that situation then, where the effective striking and grappling is the same, can you look at effective aggression and can you look at control? Only then can you look at control, right? They call it ring generalship. And you know, the confusing thing for fight fans is a lot of people consider, and judges make this mistake too, I think. You know, they consider the aggression. They consider the aggression. They consider the ring generalship, the control. And they do it, at the same time as considering the effective striking and grappling. You're not supposed to do that, according to the ABC rules. You know, I think it's human nature to look at the fight and to say, well, this guy's being aggressive, I got to give it to him. But, you know, that's not the way it works. See, if the guy is backing up, if one guy's aggressive, fighter A is aggressive and fighter B is backing up, but fighter B is landing the better shots, that can affect the outcome of the fight, that could bring forth the end of the fight, then that aggression from fighter A is not even to be considered, because he's losing tier 1, which is effective striking and grappling. You see what I'm saying? So it's very tricky. And a lot of people, you know, it's such a subjective thing. First off, there's no way to objectively measure anything in a fight other than CompuBox. But when you're listening and you're interpreting the rules, the ABC rules, then how much does CompuBox matter if the only thing that it's counting is shots thrown and shots landed, right? CompuBox, punch zone, whatever the hell you want to call it. How effective is that really, when the number one scoring criteria is effective striking? Is what you're landing, and what do I mean by effective striking? Is what you are landing going to potentially lead to the end of the fight? That's what matters. So, you know, a guy can go in there, like we saw, you know, it makes me think of Joe Calzaghe, right? When he fought like Bernard Hopkins or whatever. A guy can go in there and land 1,000 punches on the other guy, and the guy didn't feel them. The guy who ate those punches just ate them and walked through. Maybe he didn't feel them. And then you have the other fighter lands a shot, drops the guy. You know, so who won that round? Who came closer to bringing forth the end of that fight? It's a confusing, hard to understand terminology, and you're asking just, you know, regular You know, people, and listen, anybody can sign up to be a ref or an official, can take some classes, and that's it. And if I'm being honest, a lot of these commissions are desperate for people to come be judges, be referees, whatever. I mean, I see it. I'm in the fight game. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. And, you know, a lot of the guys that I work with, thank God, are really competent. But I'm sure there's some commissions and there's some people that are not so competent. You know what I mean? And when you have someone like that trying to interpret the scoring criteria, you get what we're getting. You get what we're getting recently. You get what we're getting recently, which is a whole bunch of crazy, you know, inconsistent, just wonky scoring. That's what you get. That's what you get. And the crazy part is, these guys' lives are on the line, right? Because listen, if they lose a fight, especially in boxing, man, boxing's notorious for this shit. If they lose a fight, they might not get another payday. Big shout out, by the way, to King Dale Clark. Thank you for being in here. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Let me see what's going on. What are you guys talking about in here real quick? Let me see. I've been watching boxing for 4 or so years, and I've been wondering for so long how this works. Accuracy is a factor, eh? Not really. You know, not really. King Dale Clark says, hey. ThinkCap says, I get you. King Dale Clark says, I don't think aggression alone should be scored unless it's effective. CompuBox is so flawed. If judges aren't counting the punches, couldn't that be problematic? Listen, it's problematic across the board, guys. It's problematic across the board. But look, accuracy is not a factor. Accuracy is not really a factor. And aggression, effective aggression is not a factor unless, or should not be a factor, unless that the guys are otherwise even in the fight. If the guys are even in the fight, as far as the effective strikes they've landed and the effective grappling they've done, right? If they're even in that department, only then can the judge begin to consider effective aggression. That's the only time the judge can begin to consider effective aggression, and then control of the ring or octagon. So like ThinkCap saying, I mean, you're absolutely right. There's no perfect way. And listen, it's just impossible, right? Based on those standards. I mean, effective striking, how would you objectively measure effective striking? We would essentially need a tool that could somehow record the effect on the fighter's well-being in real time. The effect of each strike and each grappling sequence or whatever, each grappling attack in real time. And that's just not technology that we have. I mean, we don't have that technology, you know. Hell, I'm not sure we'd want that technology. That kind of technology might be able to let us know a little too much. Let us know when, you know, a guy's close to death in there, you know. Who knows once we get to that level, you know, what else we can learn from that sort of technology. But that's not technology that humanity has right now. So, I mean, it's all an eye test. It's all an eye test. And yeah, I mean, you're relying on judges. Just, you know, could be a guy with a PhD, or could be a guy off the street who just likes the fights, who jumped on and joined the commission. You know, you don't know what you're gonna get. Could be CJ Ross. You know, you don't know what you're gonna get as a fighter when it comes to these judges. But at the same time, the subjective nature of scoring a fight, you know, just makes it impossible to come up with a perfect solution. That being said, you know, the wording is a little bit funky. But essentially, what I want you guys to think about is what they have to look at first is the effective striking and the effective grappling. And it's only effective if it could potentially influence the end or bring on the end of the bout, right? So to me, that means, a big shot that sends the guy reeling and the fight's almost stopped or could be stopped. I mean, obviously a one punch, knock down where the guy gets rattled and almost put out is, something that would probably score the most points or be worth the most points in a fight. Or maybe a grappling sequence where the dominant grappler puts the guy in a chokehold and nearly taps him. You know what I mean? Maybe you see the opponent grimacing in pain, holding his hand out like he's about to tap. That I think would warrant, either one of those would warrant something like a 10-8 round, right? Where the guy clearly won, maybe even a 10-7 round if you knock the guy down a couple times or get him in that compromising situation a couple times. If the round's otherwise even, there was no aggressor, nobody had control, should be scored. It should be scored a 10-10 even round in the 10-point must system. That's my understanding. Typically, if the fight doesn't get finished by somebody, typically you'll have, if one guy wins, he was more effective in his striking or grappling, you'll have like a 10-9 round for that guy. And so that's pretty much the way it works. I know it's confusing. I'm thinking, since I'm walking around right now, I can't really, show you guys the text. But maybe on Monday, because we go live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, so be sure to tune in. Maybe on Monday, I'll, do a screen share with you guys live. We'll read through it so you can understand exactly what I'm saying. And, the ABC rules, I believe the ABC is a boxing council. I believe that's what ABC stands for, is American Boxing Council or something like that. And they're the ones that have, proposed the unified rules, boxing, MMA, and we actually don't use their kickboxing rules. Come to think of it, we do have the option of using them. We use the IKFs, but the IKFs, they're going to score the same. They're going to score the same, and I think essentially every commission scores this way. I think every commission scores this way, and I think considering the fact that most, if not almost every single commission has subscribed to the ABC rules, then those are the rules that you need to understand as a fight fan or somebody in the fight game or someone who's looking forward to maybe signing up to a commission. And I always encourage that. I always encourage that. If you're out here in California, you could reach out to me. You could reach out to us on Instagram or wherever. And we're at Fighters Rep on all social media. I'll try to put you guys in touch if you're interested in becoming a referee or a judge or anything else like that. I always encourage that because we don't have a lot, and the game always needs more. They always need more than that.
Hello, Mr. Francis.
How's it going? Hey, guys.
Hi, Mr. Francis.
Sorry, talking to my neighbor. But I definitely encourage that, man, because, look, the fight game needs fight fans. The fight game needs knowledgeable people. That's why we call this the Keep It Clean podcast. We're trying to get some clean, untainted individuals to join the fight game, to be at the helm of the decision making, because lives will get ruined. Lives will get ruined, guys. We've seen it time and time again. Marlon Vera should have had that win. That was a bullshit call. Um, and we need to put an end to this A side, B side BS. We need to put an end to the corruption in the fight game. The only way to do it is to join your commission. So I can help you jump into the California ones, perhaps. I'm real cool with the commissions here in California, but if you're not in California, and you're interested in getting involved in your commission in your state, hit them up. Hit them up. If you think you're a knowledgeable fight fan, you can understand the rules, you can interpret them, hit them up. But I will come back. On Monday, if you guys want. And we can do a screen share where I can read you the link. It's very short. I mean, it's 2-3 paragraphs. It's very short. But like I said, it's confusing, man. Listen. It's effective striking is considered basically a strike that could potentially impact the end of the fight. I mean, there are a million ways to interpret this whole scoring thing. So that's what I wanted to tell you guys. I appreciate you guys jumping on the chat with me, walking around the neighborhood with me. Starting to get a little bit dark, but there's still enough time to get this walking. This virus is kind of driving me nuts, man. I've been in the house all the damn time, getting a little stir crazy. But that's why, man. That's why these judges fuck up so much, or we think they fuck up so much, is because your interpretation is just different from theirs, and their job is not to just look at aggression or control. And I hope you've learned, at least from this video, that aggression and control of the ring or the cage is just a secondary or tertiary factor to look at. But anyway, knuckleheads, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to end this walk. Hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Get your Fighters Rep shirt in the link below. Support the fight game. And much love to you guys, man. I'll be on Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific. I'll see you guys there.